My name is Whitney Henderson. I'm 38 years old. 3 weeks ago, I was standing in a hospital room, looking at my mother, who was trying to speak for the first time after her stroke. Her lips were trembling, her voice was breaking, like every word was fighting to come out. I leaned in closer. "Mom, I'm here," I said softly. She looked at me. There was a strange fear in her eyes, and then, with great difficulty, she spoke her first full sentence. "You don't want me anymore." My mind refused to accept what I had just heard. Like someone had said something that simply couldn't be true. I just stared at her for a few seconds. "What?" was all I could manage. She tried to speak again, this time even slower, her words more broken. "Your brother said, you left me." That one line broke something inside me. Because in the past 18 months, there wasn't a single week I hadn't called her. I sent messages, again and again. I drove 4 hours to her house, twice. And every single time, I was told, "Mom is resting right now. She doesn't want to talk. She needs space." And who was telling me all this? My own brother, Derek. I held my mother's hand again. "Mom, I never left you," I said softly, but my voice wasn't steady anymore. There was confusion in her eyes, pain, and a strange certainty, like she truly believed I had abandoned her. And in that moment, I understood. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was something else. Something that had been happening right in front of me, for 18 months. And I never saw it. I turned and looked toward the corner of the room. Derek was sitting there, scrolling on his phone, like none of this even mattered. And for the first time, a question entered my mind. If he made Mom believe I had abandoned her, what else had Derek done? That question kept echoing in my head. But the truth is, this didn't happen overnight. It started slowly, about 18 months ago. I still remember that day clearly. A Tuesday in March. I was sitting at my desk at Richmond Memorial Hospital, when my phone lit up with Derek's name. He never called during work hours. I picked up immediately, and the voice I heard felt off. Derek was crying. His marriage had fallen apart. His wife, Tammy, had filed for divorce. She got the house and full custody of the kids. Derek had 30 days to find somewhere else to live. "I have nothing left, Whit," he said. I didn't think for even a second. "Go stay with Mom," I said. "She's alone, she'll like having you there." He went quiet for a moment. "You think she'll agree?" I smiled slightly. "She asks about you all the time." That night, I called Mom. Dorothy Henderson, 71 years old, living alone in that old house. The moment I brought it up, she said yes. Her voice had happiness in it. The next day, I sent Derek $2,000. He texted me, "Thank you, you're the only one who understands." 2 weeks later, Mom's neighbor Patty called. "Your mom seems really happy," she said. "Derek cooks every day. The house feels alive again." I felt relieved. I thought everything was fine. Then she casually added, "By the way, your mom fell last week, but she's okay now." I paused. That same night, I called Derek. He laughed it off. "She just slipped a little, nothing serious." His tone was so normal. I let it go. Because he was my brother. The first month felt completely normal. Every Sunday, I talked to Mom. She told me about her garden, small changes around the house, the meals Derek cooked. Everything seemed fine. But in the second month, something started changing. "Mom, how are you?" "I'm fine, just a little tired." "Did you see a doctor?" "Derek took me, everything's fine." And then, the phone would suddenly go to Derek. "Mom's resting, she'll call you later." But that later never came. Every month, I sent $500 to her account. I had been doing that for years. Mom always mentioned it. I got the money. But one month, she said nothing. I asked Derek, "Did Mom receive the money?" "Yeah, she said thank you, just forgot to tell you." I stayed quiet. My mom never forgot to say thank you. But still, I convinced myself. Maybe it's just a new routine. I checked my banking app. The transfer was successful. The money was going through. And at that time, that felt enough. Because in my mind, there was only one thought. Derek is there. Everything must be fine. But by May, everything changed. I called Mom. 3 beeps, and then, the number you have dialed is no longer in service. I tried again. Same message. I called her mobile. That was off too. My hands went cold. I immediately called Derek. Mom got a new number, he said. I forgot to send it to you. He gave me the new number. I called. Voicemail. Next day. Voicemail. Third day. Still voicemail. No response. That Saturday, I drove to her house myself. Derek opened the door. Where's Mom? I asked. She stepped out, he said. I looked toward the garage. Her car was inside. The car's still here. Patty took her, he replied. I immediately called Patty. Are you with Mom? No, sweetheart. I'm home. I slowly turned back toward Derek. He just shrugged. Maybe someone from church. I waited for an hour. Mom never came back. That night, when I got home, I received a message. From her new number. Whitney, I need some space. Don't come over right now. I stared at the screen. That wasn't my mother's voice. But still, I convinced myself. Maybe I'm overthinking. But that night, for the first time, I felt it. Something was very wrong. And that feeling only got stronger the very next week. Sunday evening, exactly at 6 p.m. I called Mom again. It was the same time we had been talking for years. This time, she picked up. I let out a breath of relief. Mom. I said quickly. There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. Then her voice came. Soft, tired, and different. Yes, sweetheart, go ahead. There was no warmth in her voice, the kind there always used to be. Are you okay? I asked. I'm fine, just a little tired. She had said those words before, but this time felt different. Like a line being repeated. Did you go to the doctor? I asked again. Yes. Derek took me, everything's fine. Then suddenly, there was a faint crackle on the line. And without warning, Derek's voice cut in. Mom needs to rest, Whit, talk to her later. I tried to say something. Just 1 minute. But the call was already disconnected. I stared at my phone for a few seconds. This wasn't the first time. But this time, it didn't feel normal. Over the next few days, I started noticing a pattern. Every time I called, either Mom would end the conversation quickly, or Derek would interrupt, or the call wouldn't be answered at all. I sent messages. Mom, is everything okay? I need to talk to you. Call me when you can. No response. Then one day, I noticed something else. I asked her, did you go to church this Sunday? There was a pause. Then she said, no, I don't go anymore. I sat up straight. Mom had gone to church every Sunday for 30 years. Snow, rain, even when she had a fever. She went. Why? I asked. She said quietly, I just don't feel like it. That wasn't her answer. Something else was changing. That same day, I called Pastor David. Has Mom been coming to church? I asked. He paused for a moment. No. Derek told me she hasn't been feeling well. My hands went cold. Derek was speaking on her behalf. My next call was to Dr. Patel's clinic. The receptionist checked the system. Mrs. Henderson has cancelled her last 3 appointments. Who cancelled them? I asked. It's not noted, but the call came from someone else. I stayed silent for a moment. Now this wasn't just strange. This was a pattern. That evening, I took out a notebook. And I started writing. Calls cut short. Derek interrupts. Stopped going to church. Doctor visits cancelled. Messages ignored. This wasn't random. This was a system. And in the middle of that system, there was only one person. Derek. That night, I decided to write Mom a letter. The phone wasn't reliable, but mail should have been safe. I kept it simple. Mom, if you're reading this, please call me. I'm worried about you. I sent the letter. Then I waited. 1 day. 2 days. 3 days. No response. I sent another letter. Then a third. Nothing came back. No reply, no return. As if those letters never even reached her. September came. Mom's birthday. I ordered her favorite yellow roses. With a card. Happy birthday, Mom. I love you. That evening, Derek texted me. A photo. Mom was sitting at the kitchen table, with the flowers, a faint smile on her face. She loved them, he wrote. I zoomed into the photo. The smile looked right. But her eyes were empty. And behind her, on the counter, there were takeout boxes. And a stack of unopened envelopes. I looked closer. The top envelope was from the bank. Shenandoah Valley Federal Credit Union. It hadn't been opened. And in that moment, a clear thought hit me for the first time. If Mom isn't even opening her bank mail, does she even know what's happening in her account? I stared at the screen for a few seconds. And then, slowly, a new kind of fear began to take shape. This wasn't just emotional manipulation. This was something else. Something bigger. And far more controlled than I had imagined. The next week, I called again. This time, it went straight to voicemail. Then I tried the second number. Switched off. Now this wasn't coincidence. That same day, I decided. I had to go see for myself. I didn't wait for Saturday. I took Monday morning off. And started driving. 4 hours on the road. But this time, I didn't notice the scenery. There was only one question in my head. Why won't Mom talk to me? When I reached the house, the door was closed. I knocked. No answer. Then I turned the handle. The door opened. Inside, there was a strange silence. Not the normal kind of quiet. The empty kind. Mom. I called out. No response. I walked in slowly. The living room was clean. But in a strange way. Like things were being used. But there was no presence. I went into the kitchen. There were dishes in the sink. But old. On the counter. The same unopened envelopes I had seen in the photo. I picked one up. Bank statement. Unopened. I picked another. Same. A third. Same. A strange feeling hit my stomach. Mom never ignored her bills. That was impossible. Then I heard the sound of the door closing behind me. I turned. Derek was standing there. What are you doing here? He asked. His voice was calm. But cold. I came to see Mom, I said. She's not home, he replied immediately. Where is she? She's resting, at a friend's place. I looked toward the garage. Her car was still there. The car's here. Patty took her, he said. I called Patty right away. Are you with Mom? No, sweetheart. I'm home. I slowly turned back toward Derek. He just shrugged. Maybe someone from church. I waited for an hour. Mom never came back. That night, when I got home, I received a message. From her new number. Whitney. I need some space. Don't come over right now. I stared at the screen. That wasn't my mother's voice. But still, I told myself, maybe I'm overthinking. But that night, for the first time, I felt it. Something was very wrong. I dialed Shenandoah Valley Federal Credit Union right then. Auto menu, hold music, and then a calm female voice. Hello, how can I help you? I need information about Dorothy Henderson's account, I said. I'm her daughter. I heard typing for a few seconds. For account details, you'll need to come into the branch, with valid ID. Nearest branch? I asked immediately. Main Street, Millfield. Opens at 9. I checked the clock. 8:47. I started the engine. 13 minutes later, I was outside the bank. The moment the doors opened, I walked in. The branch was small, 2 counters, 1 glass office. "Can I speak to the manager?" I asked. A few minutes later, a man came out. Mid-40s, navy blazer, calm expression. "Russell Cahill," he said, extending his hand. I quickly explained the situation. "My mom is in the hospital. I need to see her account activity. Something feels wrong." He checked my ID, pulled up the system, and stared at the screen for a few seconds. Something in his expression changed. He didn't say anything. Just said, "Let me print this for you." The printer started. Page 1, page 2, page 3. The pages kept coming. 14 pages in total. He handed me the stack. I picked up the first page and started reading. First withdrawal. $800. 3 days later. $500. Then $1,200. Then $2,000. I flipped the page. The transactions were increasing. So was the frequency. 3 times a week. Sometimes 4. ATM withdrawals. Counter withdrawals. Debit purchases. All from the same account. I started flipping faster. My breathing picked up. I reached the last page. Balance. $43.17. My hands froze. $340,000. 3 decades of savings. Now $43. I slowly grabbed the chair. "Is this correct?" I asked. Russell nodded. "This is activity from the last 18 months. 18 months. Everything suddenly lined up. I looked at the next line. ATM withdrawal, $300. Time, 11:47 p.m. Location, Mercy General Hospital. My fingers went still. Hospital ATM. I said quietly. "Yes," he replied. I did the math. Mom was admitted at 11:02 p.m. That means 45 minutes later. While she was in the emergency room, someone withdrew money. Only one face came to mind. Derek. I placed the papers down. The room suddenly felt too quiet. Russell spoke softly. "There's one more thing." He turned his screen toward me. The mailing address was changed. 16 months ago. I read it. P.O. Box 2247. Name. Derek Henderson. Something cold settled inside me. That meant Mom never saw her statements. She didn't even know the money was leaving. She didn't know her account was empty. I took a deep breath. There was no doubt anymore. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a mistake. This was a plan. Systematic. Calculated. And completely hidden. I asked quietly, "Are there signatures on the withdrawals?" He pulled out 3 slips. I looked at them. The name was Mom's. But the handwriting was wrong. The letters were tight, angled. Mom always wrote in soft, rounded cursive. This wasn't her signature. It was forged. Now the picture was complete. Calls cut. Isolation. Mail redirected. Money drained. Fake signatures. Everything was connected. And in the center of that chain, there was only one name. Derek. I gathered the papers, put them in my bag, and stood up. "Thank you," I said. Russell nodded. I walked out of the bank, sat in my car, and held the steering wheel in silence for a few seconds. Now I didn't have doubt. Now I had proof. But one question remained. How do I tell Mom? And an even bigger one. How do I confront Derek? I sat there for a moment, then picked up my phone. The first thing I needed was someone who thinks in law, not emotion. I opened Google. Elder Financial Abuse Attorney Virginia. A few names came up. One name kept appearing. Claire Whitmore. 14 years of experience. Elder exploitation cases. I called. Whitmore Law Office. "I need an urgent consultation," I said. "This may be a case of elder financial abuse." A brief pause, then, "Can you come in today?" I noted the time. 1:30 p.m. Charlottesville. I started the engine. This drive felt different. No confusion now. Now I had direction. Claire's office was simple. Brick building, second floor, quiet hallway. She was in her mid-40s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense tone. "Show me what you have," she said. I placed the 14 pages in front of her. She read. No interruptions. 20 minutes. Then she took off her glasses. "This is textbook elder financial exploitation," she said calmly. She listed it out. Systematic withdrawals. Mail redirection. Social isolation. Possible cognitive decline. Every word, confirming what I already knew. "And these signatures," she held up the slips, "they don't match." I asked quietly, "So, this is a crime?" She looked straight at me. "This is a felony." Silence filled the room. "If we file this," I asked, "could Derek go to jail?" She didn't hesitate. "Yes." I didn't speak for a few seconds. Memories flashed. Childhood, backyard, school rides, Dad's funeral, my brother. And then, ATM slip. 11:47 p.m. Hospital. I closed my eyes, then opened them. "Next steps?" I asked. Claire shifted into full professional mode. "We'll do 3 things. First, report to Adult Protective Services. Second, criminal referral to the Commonwealth Attorney. Third, file for emergency guardianship. You'll get legal control over your mother, so she can be protected." I nodded. No hesitation now. This wasn't a family issue anymore. This was protection. I went straight to the hospital. 4th floor. Room 412. But this time, a nurse was standing at the door. "Sorry, visiting is restricted," she said. "I'm her daughter," I replied. She checked her clipboard. "Primary caregiver, Derek Henderson. He restricted visitors." Anger rose inside me. "I'm family," I said. "You can speak with administration," she replied politely. I called Derek right there. He picked up immediately. "Why did you block me?" I asked. His voice was calm. "Mom needs rest. You're stressing her out." "I'm not stressing her, I'm her daughter." "You weren't around for 18 months. Now suddenly." I cut him off. "You withdrew $340,000 from her account." Silence. Complete silence. I could hear his breathing on the phone. "What are you talking about?" he said finally. 247 withdrawals. P.O. box in your name. Forged signatures." I spoke slowly. My voice was steady now. His wasn't. "This, you don't understand," he stammered. "I understand perfectly." I paused. "And now, the law will too." He said nothing. Then the call ended. An hour later, my phone started vibrating non-stop. Group chat. Family. The message was from Derek. "Whitney came to the hospital and upset Mom. She's making false accusations. She hasn't been here for 18 months. Replies started coming. "Amazing how you show up now. Derek has been taking care of her. This isn't the time for drama." I stared at the screen. This was the same thing he did to Mom. Now he was doing it to me. Narrative control. I had become the villain. But this time, I had something he didn't. Proof. I locked my phone, took a deep breath, and told myself one thing. This fight isn't personal anymore. This is about the truth. That night, I sat in a motel room, staring at those 14 pages spread across the bed. Every line, every transaction, felt like it was screaming. Something was very wrong. But statements alone weren't enough. I needed a pattern. Proof that could eliminate any doubt. I opened my laptop, created an Excel sheet, wrote the columns, date, amount, location, type, and then I started entering each transaction. First 10, then 20, then 50. Slowly, the picture became clear. Small withdrawals, again and again. $50, $120, $300. Then suddenly, $2,000. Then a gap of a few days. Then the same pattern again. This wasn't random. This was controlled. I started color coding. ATM equals yellow. Online transfers equals green. Card payments equals red. Then, I calculated the total. $340,000. I stared at the screen. Then I looked at the next column. Transfers. Recipient name. Megan Torres. $28,000. I immediately opened Google. Then Facebook. Derek's profile. And there she was. A photo. Rooftop bar. Derek, and a girl next to him, both smiling. Caption. Fresh start. My stomach twisted. Fresh start, funded by Mom's money. I looked at the next pattern. Payments. Bet rivers. Online gambling. Multiple transactions. $50, $200, $500. Then one entry. $3,000. In a single night. I pushed my chair back. Now everything was clear. This wasn't just theft. This was addiction. And control. I looked at the next category. Credit card payments. Total. $47,000. All Derek's cards. Then a large purchase. $6,200. Blue Ridge Motors. I checked the date. Then opened Instagram. 2 days later. Derek had posted. A silver Dodge Charger. Caption. New beginnings. My hands went cold. This was all. Mom's life savings. 30 years of effort. Gone in 18 months. I didn't stop. I kept working. I compared the 3 withdrawal slips. Signatures. Wrong. Every time. Then I pulled out old birthday cards Mom had given me, the ones I had kept for years. Her handwriting. Smooth, round, steady. And these slips. Tight, rushed, unnatural. Forgery. Now I didn't just have suspicion. I had a case. A solid case. I organized everything. Bank statements. Excel printout. Signature comparison. P.O. Box record. Derek's posts. All in one file. Then I emailed Claire. Everything is ready. Her reply came. Come tomorrow. The next day. I was sitting in her office again. This time. It wasn't just papers in front of me. It was a complete narrative. Claire opened the file. Reviewed every page. Then looked up. This is strong. Very strong. Now what? I asked. Now we move. She picked up her pen. Adult Protective Services, file today. Criminal referral, initiate. Emergency guardianship, petition. Her voice was steady. So was mine. There was no fear now. Only clarity. I went back to the hospital. This time, they let me in. Room 412. Mom was asleep. I sat beside her. Held her hand. Gently. A few seconds. Just silence. Then she opened her eyes. Looked at me. Tried to recognize me. And then, very softly. Whitney. I leaned closer. I'm here, Mom. Tears filled her eyes. You came. My breath caught. I was always coming, I whispered. I just couldn't reach you. She tried to say something. But the words didn't come. Her hand just tightened around mine. And in that moment, I made a decision. This wasn't just about exposing the truth anymore. This was about protecting her. No matter who stood on the other side. Even if it was my own brother. 3 days later, Derek sent a message in the family group. Sunday 2 p.m. Hospital conference room. We need to discuss Mom's future. I read the message twice. The tone, calm, concerned, and very familiar. He was doing it again. Narrative control. He wanted the entire family in one room. To officially hand him control. Guardianship. If he won this, everything was over. I immediately called Claire. He's calling a family meeting, I said. Good, she replied instantly. That's where we stop him. I'm not going alone. I asked. You're not alone, she said. I'll be there. Sunday. Conference room B. Beige walls, long table, fluorescent lights. I walked in. Everyone was already there. Aunt Karen, Uncle Bob, Rachel, Tim, and Pastor David. Derek stood at the head. Clean shirt, calm face. The perfect son. Thank you all for coming, he began. His voice steady. Mom will need long-term care, and as a family, we need to make decisions. Everyone nodded. He continued. I've been here for the past 18 months, every day, taking care of her. I glanced at Claire. She was silent. Observing. Derek looked at me. A faint smile. Whitney, glad you could make it, he said. Then his eyes shifted to Claire. Who's this? My attorney, I said calmly. The atmosphere in the room changed instantly. Aunt Karen raised her eyebrows. Attorney, she said. This is a family meeting. Derek nodded. Exactly. And some people are turning it into a courtroom. There was an edge in his voice. He wanted a reaction. But this time, I was ready. I opened my bag. Took out the file. 3 copies. I handed one to Aunt Karen, one to Uncle Bob, and kept one in front of me. This is Mom's savings account, I said. Silence. Last 18 months. 247 transactions. I flipped the page. Total amount, $340,000. No one spoke. Only the sound of pages turning. I continued. Current balance, $43.17. Aunt Karen's hands trembled. Uncle Bob removed his glasses. Derek stood there, frozen. I opened the next page. June 15, $3,200 transfer, Megan Torres. I looked at him. Your girlfriend. His face changed. I didn't stop. Bet Rivers, $15,000 total. Credit cards, $47,000. Car purchase, $6,200. With every line, his control slipped. The room grew quieter. Then I opened the final page. Final withdrawal. I spoke slowly. $300. Hospital ATM. 11:47 p.m. I looked up. Mom was admitted at 11:02 p.m. Silence. Complete silence. I looked at him. 45 minutes later, you went downstairs and withdrew money. Aunt Karen dropped the papers. Rachel covered her mouth. Tim stared at the table. Derek finally tried to speak. This is all wrong. Look at the signatures, I said. Claire immediately placed the slips in front of them. Compare them, she said calmly. No one spoke. Because everyone could see. And for the first time, the truth was right there. Derek stepped back. He had nothing left. No words. No excuses. Just silence. I said quietly, you can return the money. Pause. But you can't return 18 months. The room was filled only with the hum of fluorescent lights. And in that silence, everything had changed. Derek stepped back. He looked around the room, like he was searching for someone to stand with him. But this time, there was no one. Aunt Karen spoke softly. Derek, is this true? Her voice was breaking. Derek didn't answer. He just looked down. Uncle Bob placed his hand on the table. Sit down, he said firmly. Derek stood there for a few seconds, then slowly sat down. For the first time, he wasn't in control. Claire stepped forward. Her voice was calm, but firm. Let me make the process clear, she said. Everyone turned toward her. A report has been filed with Adult Protective Services. A criminal investigation has been initiated. There was movement in the room again. Derek looked up. Have you all lost your minds? He said. This is a family matter. This is a crime, Claire replied directly. She placed the next document on the table. Emergency guardianship petition, filed. I looked around the room. The narrative had shifted. Now, the facts were speaking. Derek stood up. "Whitney, what are you doing?" His voice was sharp. "You're destroying this family." I looked at him. Straight. "Family?" I said quietly. "You made Mom believe for 18 months that I abandoned her." He went silent. I continued. "You changed her phone, blocked calls, intercepted letters. And her money." I paused. "You took all of it." No one in the room was looking at him anymore. Pastor David stood up quietly and walked out without saying a word. That silence was the heaviest judgment. Derek tried again. "I took care of her. I was there." "Yes," I said. "While you were emptying her account." His breathing grew heavier. "I'll pay it back," he said. "I'll fix everything." I shook my head. $340,000. Silence. "How much do you have?" No answer. Because we all knew. Nothing. Aunt Karen was crying. I trusted you," she said. Derek looked at her, but couldn't say anything. Claire delivered the final line. "The court will decide. For now, Whitney is the proposed guardian." At that, Derek's face changed completely. Now there was panic. "Clear. You can't keep me away from Mom," he said. Uncle Bob stood up. "You already did that to yourself," he said coldly. Derek grabbed his jacket, walked toward the door. He held the handle, paused for a few seconds, like he was deciding, stay or leave. Then he opened the door and walked out. The door closed, slowly, but in that sound, there was finality. No one spoke. Everyone just sat there, processing. I looked down at the papers in front of me. 14 pages. Numbers. But behind them were 18 months. Lies. Silence. And a mother who believed her daughter had abandoned her. Claire said softly, "Next step is court." I nodded. There was no going back now. Only forward. I looked out the window. Parking lot. Cars. Normal life. And upstairs. 4th floor. Room 412. My mother. I told myself one thing. This isn't over yet. But now. It's in my control. Monday morning. 9:00 a.m. I stood outside the courthouse. Claire was with me. In my hands. The same file. 14 pages. Signatures. Proof. But this time, I wasn't nervous. I was ready. We walked in. Metal detector. Wooden hallway. 2nd floor. Family court. The clerk took the documents. "Please wait," she said. We sat on the bench. Time slowed down. Every minute felt heavy. After 40 minutes, the door opened. Whitney Henderson. I stood up. Judge Margaret Delaney had signed the order. Emergency guardianship. Approved. I held the paper. Read the name. Whitney Henderson. Legal guardian of Dorothy Henderson. That one line changed everything. 10:15 a.m. I called the bank. "Deactivate all ATM cards," I said. "Reset passwords. Any withdrawal alert, over $200. Send statements to my address." Russell said. "Done." 11 a.m. Hospital. This time, no one stopped me. "Next of kin updated," the receptionist said. "Visitor restrictions removed." Derek's name was gone from the system. I walked into room 412. Mom was sitting up in bed. A speech therapist beside her. She looked at me, recognized me, and this time, there was no confusion in her eyes. Just a soft, gentle smile. "Whitney." I walked to her, held her hand. "I'm here, Mom." She squeezed my fingers. Once. Then twice. That was her way of saying, "I understand." In the weeks that followed, everything slowly began to change. The investigation had started. Derek was facing charges. The family went quiet. No messages. No blame. Just silence. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was truth settling in. Mom was recovering. Slow, but steady. One word, then another, then a full sentence. One day, at the rehab center, she looked at me and asked softly, "Did Derek take my money?" I didn't lie. "Yes, Mom." She closed her eyes. A tear fell. "I thought you didn't come." My breath caught. I held her hand. "I came every week. I just couldn't reach you." She looked at me, and this time, there was truth in her eyes, understanding, and pain. "I was angry at you," she said. "I thought you left me." I leaned forward, rested my head on her shoulder. "I never left you, Mom." We stayed quiet. But this time, the silence wasn't empty. It was full of truth. A few months later, I brought her home. The same house. White fence, porch swing, azalea flowers. I changed everything. Grab bars, new phone, alerts. No one could control her anymore. No one could isolate her anymore. One evening, I was in the kitchen making soup. Mom sat by the window. Patty was knitting. An old song played on the radio. Mom was humming softly. Then she said, "Whitney." "Yes, Mom." "The soup needs more salt." I laughed. She laughed too. A little uneven, but real. I looked outside. Sunlight, flowers, breeze. Everything felt normal. But this time, it truly was. Mom's account now had just $4,000, not $340,000. But she was safe. And she knew. I had never left her. And maybe, that was what mattered most. If you've made it this far, remember one thing. Sometimes, the biggest danger doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. From inside the family. And in that moment, the hardest decision is to do what's right, or stay silent. If you live away from your parents, call them today. Check on them. Ask questions. Because 18 months is a long time. And if this story connected with you, tell me, what would you have said to Derek? I'll see you in the next story.